Alright, so I wasn't going to do this video. I was going to wait until part 2 came out and
Why can't I go back to the
just touch on
portal? I
all
can't
of
go
it
back to the
then.
portal.
But
I had a
so many people have
tracker.
put out their thoughts about it. I just want to put out mine about
Like
season
tracking the
4,
sound
even though
process.
my thoughts are pretty much the same as everybody else's. It was great. But I'm going to get into some more specifics with it. And then
Yeah.
and then I'll probably do a video for part 2. Maybe it's just a short, very short for part 2, like 2 episodes. I don't know if I have much to say about it. We'll
Oh,
see.
it's the 30. Oh, yeah, you're right.
I have a feeling we'll get a cliffhanger for sure, so maybe we want to talk about that. But anyway, yeah, the main thing for this season that I gotta say that is super impressive, Stranger Things to me, it's been a few years, of
Holy
course, since
crap.
there's been any new episodes out. But the horror element of this season was absolutely fantastic. The
Yeah.
visuals, the effects, I can't stress that
I
enough.
didn't
Of
realize
course, I
this
can't
one
get into
was
all the
slowly
specifics
building
because
as
this
I
is a lot
started
to,
saying it.
break
Sorry,
down
Jose.
piece by piece like I usually would. I mean, this is like 8 hours of episodes here. But yeah, great horror visuals, even the sound effects. I mean, we got just some dark shit in here. There's a scene with a baby like burning in a cradle and screaming. So it's great.
Oh.
The way that the main villain, kills people is actually like something where I watch it. Usually in shows when I watch like the villains or whatever, it's like okay, they're gonna do this, and I'm not like scared of them myself. But whenever I watch Vecna, I'm like, oh shit, I don't want that happening to me because it's super brutal, super fucked up the way their limbs, snap around and the eyes roll back and all that shit, and even the jaw. They were going so hard on some scenes this season where I was like, oh my god, they gotta dial it back. But I mean, not no, I don't want them to dial it back. I'm just surprised that they weren't. Because I mean, this does come across as like a kids show from the outside, and I've heard the Duffer Brothers talk about it. It used to, be more like that, but now as they're getting older, they're progressing, and I'm so happy that they got the balls to do that and the chops to do it because they really just do some scenes very
I
well,
kind of want to
even in
understand like
simple
what
scenes.
show
Like there's
though.
a scene I remember this guy's getting his hand stepped on, and they really tone up the sound effects with it and make like you can hear the crunching of the bones and shit. So it was like, yeah, yeah, this shit. I know it might be cringy, but I told Vanessa so many times whenever we were watching it, I was like, yeah, this shit's fire. This shit is, doing good because they don't need to put in the action scenes or some horror stuff that they do, but they're like, yeah, we're gonna make this scene really burned into your brain, like I mean, Hopper pulling the chain off of his foot and,
Oh, that's
sliding
important.
skin and shit. Just so much stuff like that. It was just, wow. So impressed.
I have to jump out and see.
Because this show in my head had gotten to a point where it was kind of
It's
like,
hot, right?
just hype, but it wasn't really delivering as much as the hype was,
Flashlight here,
like, as it was
package.
talked about, if that makes sense. But this season really made it so it was like, okay, you deserve the hype that you get, for sure. So, let's see. The plot as well, it could have been felt very crowded and convoluted, but it really didn't. I mean, there is a lot of characters and maybe like three or four different storylines going on. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I think it's four. But the way they structure it out, you can follow along what's going on pretty easily. The only thing that kind of tripped me up sometimes was in
Yeah.
scenes I would have to go back and be like, oh, okay, wait, this person is with this person and they're doing this. Because sometimes you wouldn't see a certain group for a while, and they'd go, one group would have more of a story to tell than the others, and then when you come back to that one, you're like, oh, what's going on here? And it'd take you like a minute or two, and then you'd be like, okay, I got it. And maybe that was just me. Although Vanessa said she had
I
that
was
problem
in it.
too.
I was inside of it.
Okay, and this is a complaint. I saw it on TikTok, or Vanessa sent it to me on
I wonder
TikTok, and I was
if
gonna
I
say
have
something,
to go back through, but I can't.
or I wasn't gonna say anything about it, but now that I know other people are, the bullies in this shit though, and that's a TV. The bullies feel over the top. I didn't go to middle school or high school. I was homeschooled for that,
One
but
and four.
yeah, some of the shit with them to 11 is brutal. Like, it's just as bad as a torture scene. Like, there's no physical body horror or torture going on. But yeah, no, it's horrible, like inhuman treatment of 11, like that I don't think actually happens in high school, at least I'm sure it does, but not, so commonly amongst so many kids. So yeah, that was a little bit like taking me out of it right away. But you do feel bad for 11 this season. And Hopper, I think especially, these two characters get fucking tortured. And I'm pretty sure, I know they'll do it. I don't think they'll fuck up like Game of Thrones did, but we'll see. But whenever you see these characters going through this torture, you want it to pay off at some point. So you want them to eventually rise up and get theirs. Didn't happen quite yet, although I guess Hopper's been saved. But yeah, it's going to be really satisfying whenever you see 11 and Hopper, I think, get a happy ending after going through all these things.
Is the third a rat?
Some characters I did find a bit annoying. Now, this is very minor because I expected it to be much more prevalent in this season than what it actually was. So again, this is a very minor complaint. But some characters with their kind of jokey comedy stuff, annoying at times. Like Robin, for example, her character was really annoying me sometimes with her over-the-top talking. I get it, it's her character, it's her bit. But sometimes it was like, okay, bitch, shut the fuck up. This is annoying. This isn't funny. But yeah. Or, the guy with the glasses that is with Joyce. I can't remember his name. But some of his scenes were a lot about, like, okay, this is, like, too kind of dopey, like, comedy, like, silly, for my personal taste. But, it adds some life to the scenes and a little bit of, fun to it. So it's fine in moderation. And this season, it definitely was in moderation. It can't really be a complaint, like I say, because it is less, I think, than it has been from before.
She knocked one.
Some characters felt like, and it's fine because I know they've had a lot to do in the past, but some characters felt like they just didn't have a lot going on, like Dustin, for example. He really didn't have a personal arc of his own going on like a lot of the other characters did, or I'm sure I could think of another one if I really put some thought into it. But yeah, and that's fine. With all of these characters, you can't have them all something to do. Hopefully they don't add any more characters. I was going to say that in the next season or the next part. Maybe just one. But yeah, they definitely have a big enough cast unless they start cutting down. For sure. Because that problem would become more prevalent otherwise. So, let's see. I'm confused personally how Hopper survived. I know it was, if it's the way I'm meant to understand it, then it's problematic to me. But, I could be wrong. Maybe I just need to rewatch the scenes from season 3. I don't remember a lot from season 3. But apparently that machine was in Russia, I've heard. I could have sworn it was under the mall, the machine that blew up and killed Hopper. I could have sworn it was in the mall, but I guess it was in Russia. But it blew up. Hopper jumped underneath it, and then Joyce just kind of looked around and didn't see him. Or did he jump somewhere else? Or he jumped there, got captured, and then by the time Joyce went and looked, he was gone. I'm really confused about that. And whenever they have characters that are looked to have died and then they survive, I really like for it to be explained personally, very well. And this wasn't like terrible. I'm sure a large part of it is me just misunderstanding, but I really just felt like there was going to be more to it than he just like jumped and Joyce didn't see him, under the machine, if that was where he was at. Anyway, I like the new character, the actor of I don't remember his name. I'm just calling him Johnny Depp. He reminds me of Johnny Depp. But the new kid who runs the Hellfire Club, or he's not a kid, he's like in his 20s, I guess.
Munson.
Eddie Munson is what Vanessa told me his name is. So yeah, he's a good actor. Really commits to some of his performance. I remember in the end of the first episode, he has this really like wicked scream where I was like, wow, he really committed to that because, I'm sure a lot of these actors, why wouldn't you? You're on like one of the biggest shows, ever. That's probably paying you a bunch of money. So yeah, he does a good job. And then we get the other stoner dude. He's okay, I didn't really get much of a feel for him, but he's just the comedic relief, clueless character. But it is nice that they added like a stoner character in there, because in this time period it's 79, I believe, or maybe not. Or it's the 80s now, I believe. But anyway, in this time period, of course, there's a lot of potheads and stuff like him. I mean, not to say that there still aren't, but it's just my impression. I wasn't alive back then, but it's just the impression that I get from the time. So anyway, nice touch there. And then, let's see. I still have a lot of questions about Vecna. Honestly, it made sense to me, the ending. I'm not really going to try to talk about it and break it down because I'm just going to get fucking confused talking with the timeline. But it is confusing in some parts, I think. But I think we're just going to have to, I think we'll get more answers and it'll all make sense come part 2. So I think it's not all supposed to quite make sense on purpose. Or maybe I just need a recap on the show. So yeah, the show is really quality. It's something special for sure. They definitely took me by surprise with the gore and horror. Even the music, and the sound effects, everything is top notch. The editing, styles with some stuff, like between scenes, it's just great. The plane crash scene was fucking silly, I think, with Joyce and that dude surviving that big ass plane crash. I don't know, maybe you could survive that, but I don't think so. That would felt just silly, but most of that stuff, like I said, was very moderate here. I wonder, can the Duffer Brothers, I guess kind of my closing thoughts, can the Duffer Brothers write for other things? Like, did they just come up with the concept of this story, and then they have other people, like, actually write it into a script form or whatever? Because these guys, if this is all mostly them, like how Vince Gilligan is to Breaking Bad, I want to see Vince Gilligan, I want to see the Duffer Brothers, I want to see these guys do other stuff. I'm curious if it translates. Sorry, background noise. I'm curious if it translates to other things. Like, could Vince Gilligan from Breaking Bad go write something just as good somewhere else? Could the Duffer Brothers go write something this good somewhere else? That's what I'm curious about. Oh, another complaint. People were complaining the parents were super dumb this season, and yeah, they do feel dumb, and the whole town like riot thing. I do like that concept, but yeah, just with all the adults doing it, I would prefer it to be a smaller group, like just the football team. But it is starting to feel like some epic proportions anyway. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I got. Like I said, I can't go over every single little thing. They're very aware of their fan base. They're catering Dustin and what's his name, Steve, calling Steve the babysitter and things like that. So they're very aware of the fans at the same time too, but none of it feels over the top. And yeah, again, most impressive thing to me this season was the horror. They even got a guy from Nightmare on Elm Street. I can't think of his name right now. Wow, that's fucking disrespectful. But yeah, that dude's in here too. So yeah, super awesome horror show. To my surprise, loved it. And I don't think I could give it anything other than a strong 9 out of 10. Maybe even a 10 out of 10 just because it blew me away. Because I did so much fucking marketing for this season. Like dominoes, makeup, all kinds of shit. And you're looking at it like, man, I hope this all pays off for you. And I think it absolutely did. And it is deserved to be so popular right now. Just hopefully it doesn't disappoint like a lot of big shows, good shows do these days. But I don't think it will. So yeah, maybe I'll do a video for part 2. I don't know if I have too much to say just for 2 episodes that I haven't already kind of said here. But yeah, that's what I got. I would say let me know what you thought of it, but I'm pretty sure everybody, just loved it, and I did too. So, alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.